Hello, my astrology friends. The big day is soon upon us, the great eclipse of 2024, the total eclipse that we're going to experience on April 8th at 19 degrees of Aries, with the path of totality that cuts through a large swath of the country, through Texas, the Midwest, and the Northeast. So many of us will have the opportunity not only to witness the magnitude of this terrific event directly, but also when you're in the path of totality or close to it, the ancients believed that the effects of the eclipse would be even stronger. So many of us in North America will be a lot more impacted by it, perhaps. So let's talk again about this eclipse. And first, let's talk about it in a mundane sense. And the mundane sense is, of course, what it means for the world and major world events. A lot of the impact of this eclipse is already being seen in terms of world events. The British monarchy, of course, being shaken up, both King Charles and Princess Kate, of course, suffering from cancer. And so eclipses tend to bring those sorts of big changes to leaders, to major leaders and major figureheads around the world. It is possible that in the days surrounding this eclipse, we'll hear about other major world leaders either taking center stage, stepping down for some reason, facing health problems, or facing some sort of transformation for better or for worse. So keep your eyes peeled for major political implications. Eclipses also can signal the end or the beginning of warfare. Already we're seeing a diminution, for example, in the number of troops that Israel has in southern Gaza. So perhaps there is some hope for some sort of resolution, some sort of first step towards peace, or at least less conflict in that part of the world. Similarly, we're seeing Ukraine advance in its drone strikes against Russia. That's leading to an increase in oil prices. So there too, we could see significant changes. Anywhere that there are hot spots right now in the world, you might see significant changes occur. Now, why do I say that particularly with this eclipse? Because this eclipse is occurring in Aries. And Aries is the planet of, it's the sign related to war, right? It's ruled by Mars, the planet of war, the planet of conflict. So this eclipse has a great deal to do with global conflict and also global leaders. The eclipse is conjunct Chiron. Chiron represents the wounded healer. It's an asteroid that was discovered in 1977. We don't know everything about Chiron and its effects yet, but generally speaking, it's perceived as a place of pain, a place of woundedness. This is a North Node eclipse. North Node represents the karma that we're moving toward, those things which are to come, the path forward. North Node eclipse points the way to where we're supposed to go. It clears out the debris of things that are not working so that we can work towards a better future more aligned with our karma, with our destiny, and with our purpose. So this eclipse in Aries, conjunct Chiron, speaks to me about pain and suffering that's being released, solution perhaps coming for a lot of that pain and suffering. The other interesting aspect that's occurring at the same time as the eclipse is Mars conjunct Saturn and Pisces. Mars conjunct Saturn are the two malefics, right? Mars and Saturn. Mars represents conflict. Saturn represents restriction, inhibition, delays. Mars conjunct Saturn is a time of frustration, but also Saturn in some ways is putting the brakes on Mars. So everything that is represented by Aries energy, because Mars is the ruler of Aries, is kind of being inhibited right now. It's being eclipsed. Aries energy is being eclipsed. That is what's happening right now. Martian energy is being eclipsed. The brakes are being put on it. So this could be a time when conflicts come up against a wall, right? It could be a reduction in conflict. It could be an end to conflict. It could be a frustration regarding conflict, not knowing how to progress. But let's pray, let's hope that it represents an end to conflict or the beginning of the end of certain types of conflict that's going on around the world. Any leaders that are Mars ruled right now, people who are Aries rising, or have strong Mars aspects in their charts, are likely to be impacted by this eclipse quite directly. And you might see them fall from power, fall from grace, encounter health issues right now. The opposite sign, Libra, is also being affected. And of course, there is a big eclipse in Libra happening 6 months from now. The big solar eclipse in Libra is happening on October the 2nd at 10 degrees of Libra. Myself, as a Libra person, I'm actually born at about 10 or 11 degrees of Libra, so I'll be quite directly impacted by it. But that eclipse signals the resolution or the outcome, I think, of whatever happens with this eclipse, right? This eclipse is seeding. It's a North Node eclipse, and that eclipse will be in the opposite sign. Libra, of course, ruling harmony, treaties, diplomacy, to some extent, peacemaking. What's interesting about Libra is that it's often referred to as the glove, or the fist in the velvet glove, the fist in the velvet glove. And what's meant by that is that Libra can also be a sign of warfare, of conflict, even if it's more diplomatic. So with Libra, you tend to see trade wars. You tend to see things like arguments or discord at the United Nations or in treaties. You tend to see the dissolution of treaties, perhaps. With an eclipse in Libra, you can see things like NATO weaken, UN treaties weaken, ceasefires weaken, right? Because Libra is about treaties, about conciliation, about diplomacy and diplomatic solutions. And when Libra is being eclipsed, that means those diplomatic solutions or those treaties are falling apart. The eclipses that happen in the spring of 2025, there's another one happening in Aries then, and it'll be happening at 8 degrees of Aries. So it'll be opposite the Libra eclipse that's happening in October. This all speaks to me as sort of a start-stop motion in a lot of the conflict that's going on in the world. We might around this time see some efforts towards halting conflict or ceasefires around this eclipse that's happening April 8th. And then with the Libra eclipse on October 2nd, you might see those ceasefires or those treaties or those covenants start to fall apart. And then with the final eclipse in Aries in the spring of 2025, the end of that Saros cycle, you'll see the final resolution to all of this, whether the treaties are reinstated, whether the conflict resumes, or whether there's just an end to the conflict. My sense is that by that time, there will have been some sort of end to the conflict, or the beginning of the end. We will see who the winners are. We will begin to know who the winners are, what kind of new order will emerge globally from all of this, and what our futures will look like. These eclipses don't have to be all about conflict. Even at the mundane level, they have a lot to do with sort of the Martian energy, the will forward. And you'll see that a lot of Martian energy is just being inhibited with this eclipse. So a lot of leaders may be less inclined to take rash actions because Mars is conjunct Saturn and Aries is being eclipsed. A lot of world leaders may be likelier to compromise or to try to seek diplomatic solutions at this time. But whether they work really depends on what happens in the October eclipse of this year in Libra. So that, I think, is what we can expect to see on a mundane level. You can expect to see, because it's conjunct Chiron, a lot of sense of woundedness, dissatisfaction, and those people, their needs being eclipsed, not being heard, not being seen. So you'll hear a lot of talk about injustice, about those who are wounded not having their needs met. And I mean that in a metaphoric sense, right? Not necessarily people who actually have physical wounds, but the aggrieved party in a conflict, whoever you believe that is. So that's what's happening at a mundane level, everyone. Because eclipses always tend to bring, they don't always, but they often tend to bring changes in the weather. I mean, we saw that unusual earthquake, for example, in New York happened recently that I'm almost certain is related to this eclipse. And this eclipse in Aries can bring unusual, strong, violent weather, right? So Aries ruled by Mars rules that sort of violent, difficult, cataclysmic change. It also rules accidents. And with Mars conjunct Saturn at this time, just be careful, especially if you have any Aries or Libra placements along or near this 19-degree Aries axis. Just be careful. Mars conjunct Saturn, it can be infections, it can be injuries, it can be accidents, fevers. All of these sorts of things are represented by Mars conjunct Saturn, and especially with an eclipse at this time. So be careful. Now let's briefly go sign by sign. I have done individual sign videos for the entirety of the month of April, which covers the 4 big aspects this month: the eclipse, Mercury retrograde, Mars conjunct Saturn, and the once-in-a-lifetime Jupiter conjunct Uranus conjunction. And so you'll want to look for those videos with your individual sign. But I'll go very quickly just through each sign right now and talk about how this eclipse affects you. So let's start with the sign of Aries. Aries, this eclipse is all about you. The spotlight is being put on you. Again, because this eclipse is conjunct Chiron, your pain, your needs, your woundedness is coming to the fore, but it's not, you felt like it has not been addressed. You felt like your complaints, your vulnerabilities, your wounds, your traumas haven't been heard, haven't been seen, Aries. Well, now this eclipse will create a situation, perhaps a critical situation, that will eventually release that wound or heal that wound or allow you to move past that wound because it's a North Node eclipse. So Aries, look to this eclipse. It could bring unexpected events, as eclipses often do. It could bring critical events. Sometimes eclipses do that as well. But expect them, whatever pain you're feeling, whatever frustration, dissatisfaction you're feeling, it's cathartic. It brings it out and allows you eventually to reach a better place where you've moved past it. So good luck, Aries. Taurus, this eclipse, of course, is happening in your 12th house. Eclipses in the 12th house, Taurus, tend to represent, secrets, the recesses of your psyche, those things that you keep private, your secret dreams, your secret goals. The 12th house is a place of, it can be a place of sickness, it can be a place of institutionalization, Taurus, but I don't see anything quite so dire, especially because Jupiter's in your sign right now, and that big Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is happening later this month, so that's really great news for Tauruses in particular, so I don't see anything like that. What I see more is maybe some secrets coming out that you didn't want to come out. They may prove useful for you because Jupiter conjunct Uranus is like sudden windfall, sudden download of information for you. So those secrets coming out or that psychic information you may be getting, you may be having prophetic dreams, you may be having heightened intuition at this time, you may be dabbling with metaphysics a little bit. All of those things are very beneficial. Also beneficial right now at this time is psychological work, meditation, healing work, anything that helps you explore your psyche, expand your psyche, heal your psyche is to your benefit right now, Taurus. Gemini, with this eclipse occurring in your 11th house, it throws you a sort of favorable sextile aspect from Aries to Gemini energy. In the 11th house, Gemini, this can signify better use of technology. So you might be getting a computer, an upgrade to your computer and any technology that you utilize. The 11th house is also your friends, your social networks, social media. So you might experience good new changes regarding your friendship circles, your social circles, any volunteer work that you do, any charity work that you do. All of that is benefited. Of course, again, Chiron is conjunct this eclipse. So I always want to emphasize that eclipses are not without unexpected or critical situations. I mean, they can just occur, right? And I don't mean that happens for everyone, absolutely not, but it's a potential. But for Gemini energy, this is support. This is a supportive eclipse. So whatever happens regarding your friendships, your social circles, technology, your charity work, all of these things will improve. And whatever frustrations you've been feeling in those areas will see a boost. Cancer, this eclipse is occurring in your 10th house of social status, of career, of your public persona. Expect there to be shakeups in your workplace or whatever realm of life is your most public realm of life. So if you don't work, but you're active socially in the community, that can be shaken up. If you don't work, but you're very active at home taking care of your family, that can be shaken up. The 10th house is what we put out to the world. It's how the world perceives us. Usually it's your career or your work, but it can just be your social standing, your public work, and that can change right now. And because this eclipse is conjunct Chiron, maybe you've been feeling some frustrations recently about your work or about your public persona or your image. Those frustrations will be shaken up a little bit right now. There may be some changes in your workplace. There may be changes to how you do your work. There may be changes to your social standing, Cancer. So expect that with this eclipse. Leo, this eclipse is happening in your 9th house. I think you're one of the signs that most benefits from this eclipse because Leo energy is in a trine, which is the most supportive aspects there is in astrology to Aries. So many Leos, especially those born around 18, 19, 20 degrees of Leo, those are Leos born around August 2nd to around August 10th, let's say, give or take, are going to see the most support. And in the 9th house, this represents foreign travels or foreigners, higher education, The legal system, it also represents religion, metaphysics, higher education. So this may mean one of your kids is accepted to college or is graduating from college. You finish your PhD or get accepted into a master's degree program. On the foreign side, it could represent that you get to take a great overseas trip or that you get some good news from overseas. On the legal front, it can represent a positive settlement to legal matters you've been having or a positive legal outcome. Religious issues, it can mean a first communion for one of your children or bar mitzvah or whatever your religion is, some sort of positive religious event. So Leo, I look forward to seeing what happens to you with this eclipse because you're one of the signs that's most favored by it. Let me know eventually in the comments. Virgo, this eclipse is occurring in your 8th house of other people's money, big money payouts. 8th house is also the house of kind of the underworld, those things that are taboo or that we hide under the rug. The 8th house can also be metaphysics. It can be our subconscious. So for Virgo, this eclipse can signify a time when you're dealing with those sort of difficult or taboo subjects. So Virgo, you might, around this time, receive an insurance settlement, some sort of favorable news regarding your taxes, something just regarding money that's favorable for you. Because this eclipse is conjunct Chiron, however, there may be a pebble in your shoe at first regarding these issues. Like it may feel uncomfortable, like, you know, you're not really happy with the way some of these things are working out. But ultimately, I think this works out very well in your favor, especially because Jupiter is conjunct Uranus around the same time in a favorable trine aspect to you. So I think whatever comes up around this eclipse regarding other people's money, shared resources, loans, debt, taxes, insurance, or settlement payouts, the occult, metaphysics, eventually it will be beneficial for you. Libra, you're one of the signs most affected by this eclipse. It's happening in your 7th house of intimate one-to-one partnerships. It can be your spouse, your significant other. It can also be people who are one-to-one advisors, like your doctor, your lawyer, your realtor, your agent, one of your best clients. These sorts of relationships are being intensely impacted by this right now. The 7th house is also, interestingly, I mean, it rules Libra, right? It is the house of compromise, conciliation. And when you're being eclipsed in this area, it means that opportunities for conciliation, working together, and so forth are momentarily being shut off. But after they're shut off, after the eclipse passes, the North Node leads you in the right direction regarding those matters, right? So whatever crisis you've been feeling in recent weeks leading up to this eclipse regarding partnerships, whether they're professional or personal, that crisis will pass and the North Node will lead you in the right direction. The South Node, which is the karma we owe, the debts we bring with us from past lives, has been transiting Libra this year. So many Libras have felt like they've been dealing with issues from the past, like issues from the past have been rearing their ugly head again, like they really can't make progress forward yet. Libra is a sign that in essence has been eclipsed as well this year. It has been physically, and many Libras just feel like their energy may be more muted this year and they haven't been able to progress forward as much as they'd like. Well, this eclipse will shake you out of that, and it'll shake you out of that in a way that you may not necessarily love initially, but that will ultimately work out in your favor. And especially by the end of the year, once the South Node moves out of Libra and into Virgo, you will feel the difference. You will feel that weight off your shoulders. You will feel that change. Scorpios, this eclipse is happening in your 6th house of day-to-day work, day-to-day responsibilities, your health, your day-to-day routines. Expect there to be big changes regarding how you take care of your health, how you take care of your work responsibilities, your day-to-day schedules. You're going to be shaken out of this because Jupiter is conjunct Uranus right now in your 7th house. I expect that somebody you have a relationship with, whether it's your significant other or a personal trainer or a doctor or a headhunter, is bringing those changes for you. Like a headhunter, for example, might bring you a new job that allows you to manage your schedule better, or a personal trainer or doctor might put you on a new fitness or health regimen that helps you shake up your health routine for the better. Expect those sorts of changes to happen around this time, Scorpio, and for your good, because perhaps you've been feeling like you've been neglecting your health or your fitness, or you're overworked, or you just can't manage your schedule and responsibilities well. Expect a one-to-one partner, whether it's a business partner, professional partner like a doctor, a personal trainer, or a realtor, or a headhunter, or a loved one, to shake you out of that and take you into a more positive direction. Sagittarius, you might be the sign that's most benefiting from this eclipse. Sagittarian energy, of course, in a wonderful trine, which is the most supportive aspect in astrology to Aries energy. And this eclipse is happening in your fifth house, which are the things you love, the things that bring you pleasure and joy. The fifth house can be your kids, it can be your romantic partner, it can be your hobbies, it can be anything that brings you pleasure and joy. That is being eclipsed right now. An eclipse, of course, momentarily shuts off the light in that part of your chart, in that part of your life, in the fifth house. But then once the eclipse passes, it leads you in a wonderful new direction. And the North Node in Aries right now, this is a North Node eclipse, is also in a trine to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, expect there to be big dramatic changes regarding your romances, your children, your creative hobbies, your passions that are changing for the better, Sagittarius. So there may be a very big surprise there. And it could relate in some part to your work, to your day-to-day habits, and how those help support perhaps your kids, help support your romantic partner, etc. So let me know, Sagittarius, how it goes for you, because you're one of the signs it's likeliest to most enjoy the outcome of this eclipse. Capricorn, this eclipse is occurring in your fourth house of home and family. Aries is in a somewhat tense square aspect to Capricorn, which means Aries and Capricorn energy generally are in a state of some friction. So this eclipse, you'll feel it. You'll feel it. There are some issues regarding your physical house, your home that you live in, or your family and family members, right? And it could be anything. It could be that you have termites or roaches. It could be that your mortgage is too expensive. It could be that one of your family members is having issues. It could be that one of your kids isn't doing well at school. It's anything related to home and family. And I think in particular, it might have to do with you might be receiving some negative communications right now regarding home and family from your neighbors or siblings. But ultimately, you'll find, because Jupiter and Uranus are conjunct in your fifth house, that your kids are going to do really well, that whatever transformation in your home and family occurs as a consequence of this eclipse, your kids will really benefit from it. Your fifth house will really benefit from it, or you'll be able to enjoy your hobbies a lot more. I mean, this sounds a lot like you've been having a home remodeling project that's been a pain in the neck. That's fourth house, your home. But then you remodel your house and there's more space for your kids and they love it. Or your romantic partner ends up helping you smooth out some of the family issues you've been having. Those are just some examples. So Capricorn, let me know how it goes. Don't get too frustrated by this, because Capricorn energy might feel frustrated, especially because Mars is conjunct Saturn, your ruler, at the same time. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. With Mars conjunct Saturn, it can really inflame Capricorns, right? So be careful of accidents, be careful of taking risks, be careful of getting into fights. Watch your health around this time, Capricorn, because you're one of the signs that can be negatively impacted by this eclipse. And I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I just have to make you aware that with Mars conjunct your ruler, you might feel more initiative, you might feel more get-go, but because it's an eclipse and a tense aspect to your sign, it can also bring, snafus or the potential for arguments or the potential for injury. So just, be careful. Ultimately, it does turn out in your favor, because Jupiter is conjunct Uranus in your fifth house and trine to Capricorn. So whatever happens at this eclipse, whatever frustration you feel, passes pretty quickly and then turns into your favor, Capricorn. So let me know how it goes. Aquarius, this eclipse is a fascinating one. And what's interesting for Aquarius is in particular is that Jupiter is conjunct Uranus at this time. And you are ruled by Uranus. Uranian people are Aquarius people, right? So whatever's happening around the time of this eclipse, it has to deal with your second house. Your second house is money, assets, what you place value on, your self-worth, whatever's happening around the time of this eclipse. You're going to get a really, really amazing sudden boost of support from Jupiter conjunct Uranus. So whatever change or frustration comes to the surface as a consequence of this eclipse is going to ultimately end up being one of the biggest, most positive surprises of your life. And I cannot state that strongly enough, Aquarius. I'm very curious what happens for many Aquarius people or Uranus ruled people around this time, because this eclipse, even though it's a little frustrating regarding money, you're going to get some huge blessing from the universe later on in this month. And, Jupiter tends to bring big tangible blessings. So some big resolution to those second house money issues that you may be facing, Aquarius. Let me know how it goes. Pisces, last but not least, I have a Pisces moon. Piscean energy resonates with me a great deal. And Pisces, you may be feeling a little chafed right now. Mars and Saturn, the two malefics, are conjunct in your sign at the time of this eclipse. Maybe you've been feeling frustrated. Maybe you've been having some health issues recently, which wouldn't be uncommon with Mars conjunct Saturn. Maybe you've been working harder than usual, burning the candle at both ends. Pisces, expect this eclipse to help transform that situation, because this eclipse is in your second house. It can signify that there are big changes regarding your money situation coming. And it'll be for the better, because Mars conjunct Saturn in your sign is ultimately in a nice sextile aspect, which is a supportive aspect to the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's happening later on in the month. So whatever frustrations you've been feeling regarding perhaps being overworked to earn the money that you need, or health issues that you've been feeling, those things will be resolved pretty nicely in your favor. That elbow grease, that hard work you've been putting in will pay off. The discipline will pay off for you over the next 2 years, Pisces. All right, everyone. I hope this brief video has been helpful. I hope it's given you a little insight into what to expect. Remember, the energies of eclipses are hard to contain, hard to control. Oftentimes they bring the unexpected in ways that seem fated or karmic, and that's their purpose. Their purpose is to clear out the old, bring in the new, lead you in the direction in which you're headed. All the best to you. Many blessings. Ta-ta.